Okay, guys, alternate ending. Take 43.
With so many movies on the net and TV, it's kinda hard being up and film savvy. Do you catch a show while you're on the go? And how do you know what to keep or what to throw? How do you know what to keep or what to throw? Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending now. Please give a warm welcome to the hosts of Alternate Ending.
Welcome to Alternate Ending, where we're discovering good movies one bad movie at a time. I'm your host, Carrie Jarasinski. Across from me is my husband, Tim Brayton, and thank goodness our critic, Rob Jarasinski, is nowhere to be found because we're going to have the best episode of our lives today, Tim.
Is that what's going to happen tonight?
Yeah.
I appreciate your optimism, and I think you need to be reminded that lying is a sin, and you're going to go to hell for telling that lie.
You know, we win some, we lose some. But here today, this is one of my favorite episodes of the year. I am sorry that Rob is not here, in fact, but he is balancing lots of things, as we all know, and he has literally hit the actual capacity, which is almost impossible for Rob to actually hit that, and he has.
See, I appreciate that while also being kind of grumpy, because for me, I hit capacity when I have to both go to the grocery store and then later in the day, go back to the grocery store because I forgot something. That ends my week.
Yes.
That is the amount of stress I can cope with. And yet I'm on this show.
Right? That's how I feel too.
So we all have our own capacities which we can hit.
Yes.
And I wonder, I guess I just wonder why I'm so much stronger than Rob is, that I can pick myself up and dust myself up and keep going.
This is what I say.
And do you know how many times I went to the grocery store today?
How many?
None, but I might go after we're done recording if we finish fast enough.
And you're already exhausted by it.
Exactly. That just thinking about it. Because it's dark out. Because it's fall and it gets dark early and I don't like that.
And it's a little nippy out right now. And you don't want to go out when it's cold either. When you get that chill. It's really overwhelming for me.
Especially because usually my landlord doesn't turn my heat on until October 1st. But this year they turned it on today. So now my house is all roasty, cozy, warm. And I'm like, but it's out there. And I don't want that.
The worst. I myself feel the same way. I feel like I spent an entire weekend pickling myself with my friends from high school in the wineries of Michigan, and it was exhausting. I can't even tell you how much cheese that I ate. Every possible type of cheese.
So you left Wisconsin to eat cheese?
I brought the cheese, though.
Okay.
It was a potluck, and I was like, nobody bring the cheese. I have to take control of the situation. So I came with all of the cheese I could possibly find. I ate all of it. I did eat so much cheese for so many days, so much sodium, so much wine. I mean, and again, I'm like, my eyes kind of hurt right now. My head's a little bit throbbing, but you know what? I'm here.
Are you in this moment? So I'm hearing cheese, I'm hearing wine.
Yes.
Are you just pooping extruded concrete? To just sink directly into the bottom of the tank with a large splashing noise?
Right now in this exact moment, I can't tell if I feel seen or embarrassed because I feel
that's what I'm going for. That's the target I'm trying to keep hitting for the rest of the episode.
For the whole episode. Yeah, is that common?
That's what happens when you eat cheese at the expense of
okay.
other foods. It binds you.
I thought it was
gives you just these
putty?
awful rabbit pellet poops.
I wouldn't call it rabbit. It seems more like rhinoceros. Possible rhinoceros putty.
So it's you're passing a human child.
A human child.
Through your butt.
That's where we're at. Unfortunately, also the plumbing at my friend's parents' place, not ideal. The cabin plumbing.
Well, not now, I should imagine.
Yeah, but the good news is there were 6 of us there. They're never going to know who it was.
Okay.
And we'll just move on.
How many of the other 5 people listen to this podcast?
That's tough to say. No one wants to admit it if they do. That's for sure. So
that's how my friends are as well.
Yeah. they listen.
I'm like, hey, did you listen to the most recent episode of the podcast? And they're like, you have a podcast? I'm like, yeah, it's It's where I extended my film reviewing into podcasting, and they're like, "Wait, you're a film reviewer?" And it's very exciting.
It's very exciting.
They're just so coy.
It's warm and fuzzy. It's very warm and fuzzy. I feel the same way, but there are a couple things since we last spoke beyond my cheese consumption and the aftermath of that I was so excited to talk to you about, and Rob's going to be horrified by all of it. But we did go, gosh, I don't know if it was already life's a blur right now, but I think it was maybe last weekend. We went up to Minnesota for the, what's it called? The Crypticon. It's like a horror festival, horror con situation.
I am unfamiliar with this.
So am I. I was completely unfamiliar with it before we went there, but I was like, I am going to just try and rally. I'm going to just try and have fun. Rob had bought costumes of the girls as the two little gals from The Shining.
Is that what that was about? I got that picture.
Yes.
And I was confused. And still, I texted back the question. So they were dressed as the girls. Rob was just dressed somewhat off book as Shelley Duvall, who never interacts with the two little girls from The Shining, but we're going to set that aside.
Yes.
You weren't dressed as anything. I wanted you to be Jack Nicholson with an axe, and you weren't.
That's exactly what I was. I was wearing a flannel. Didn't you see the underbite that I was doing in the picture?
I didn't see a picture. You didn't send me a picture.
Oh, I will have one. So I showed it to a few people and they were like, did you go as Popeye? And I'm like, no, I am the man, the most horrifying man from The Shining. They're like, I'm not getting that from the underbite and the squinty eye. So I don't think I sold it, to be honest, but It was amazing. And the other thing that was amazing was the number of actors that were there, or like people from horror films of the past. So overwhelming. And I'm going to tell you, I saw one of your favorite actors of all time.
Vincent Price? He's dead, so that would have been really fucked up.
It wasn't Vincent Price. I can't actually think of his name right now, but I know every single detail about him, and I'm going to see if you can guess who it was.
I hate you so hard. I hate that you're doing this to me.
I really can't get there. When you say his name, I'll know it. And when he's your favorite person of all time, you'll know it. But he was just cute as can be. And you're going to get there. I know it. Okay. So are you ready for the facts?
Please.
Okay. Oh, gosh. I'll start off with, to try and be, he had this really, really epic mustache. Like a brown mustache.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, if you see how I'm doing this with my nose underneath my nose, it kind of like poofs out like really far. So it's really
Jason
big.
Sudeikis.
It's not his name. No, he's old. He's like, now he's probably 60 or 70.
Sam Neill. Not Sam Neill, Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott. No, that's not it either. Here's another thing. Here's another fact. If you were to see him and when you saw him in the past, you wanted to hug him. Like in the movie, you'd be like, oh, I just got to hug that guy. He looks like a little bear. Are you getting it? No.
Warwick Davis.
That is not his name. He looks like John Goodman. Okay, looks like John Goodman, but he is not John Goodman. He's not John Goodman, but he looks a lot like him.
John Goodman with a mustache.
Yes, with a poofy one.
John Goodman with a poofy mustache. Can you conceivably give me an example of a film in which this person has appeared?
I'm 95% sure Rob was like, oh my God, that's the guy from License to Drive.
I've never seen License to Drive.
Oh, shoot. He also had a picture of The Thing. He on his little desk in front of him. He was in The Thing.
Well, Wilford Brimley is no longer with us, but you could have been describing Wilford Brimley this whole time.
Oh, no, I wouldn't mistake Wilford Brimley for this guy. I think, so here's the other pictures that he had on his thing. He was in Risky Business.
Which I have not seen.
You're starting to panic, I could tell.
I've been panicking. Are you crazy?
I'm starting to panic too because I don't have any other facts. He, I think, was also in My Girl.
Which I have never seen.
How in the God's world of green earth have you not seen My Girl? One of the classic movies.
Why would I have seen?
It's like one of the best movies that's ever been made. Oh my gosh, my mind is just blown right now. Okay, well, that's all the facts I have.
So he's in My Girl.
He's in My Girl. He plays the uncle, or like the dad's brother, I think.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna brute force this. I apologize. I'm gonna see who's been in both My Girl
and License to Drive.
Is it Richard Macer?
Yes. Now that you say that name, that is absolutely who it is. Look at his face.
And honestly, I get where in the weird, foggy crevices of your brain you came up with John Goodman.
He's kind of, though, right?
Kind of.
A little bit. Here's my
I
big...
quickly need to see.
Do you know who he is, though?
If I've ever seen him in anything.
Oh, but you recognize him, don't you?
Not really.
Oh, I thought he's my favorite of all time. And I was far too sticker shocked to approach him and was way too nervous. Rob's like, go up there, say hello. And I was just like, no.
Oh, so he is in The Thing. So I've seen him in The Thing.
Okay.
Oh, he's in Heaven's Gate.
Oh,
So I've seen him in Heaven. And he was on an episode of MASH in 1975.
Well, again, classic. He was there. William
was
Forsythe was there. Do you remember William Forsythe?
Well, I know who William Forsythe is. That's exciting.
He was there. I didn't approach him either because he was scary.
He's a real actor, not like Richard fucking Mazer.
What? That's just rude. And both of them looked not approachable. I was just like, I'm so afraid to talk to both of you. William Forsythe looked like he was going to cut you if you approached him.
I mean, William Forsythe looks like he's going to cut you.
Yeah. In real life, he also looks that way. So
okay.
I wish you had come with us. It was the most... maybe
I could have gotten Richard Mazer's autograph on my dick.
He would have not complied. He's too high class for that. Maybe for 50, I don't know. But for $20, you could have gotten a picture with him, but I was too scared for that too. But next time you're coming with us, it was a blast. And every single person that was there was just so kind and nice and talented. And it was like, I think I'm going to get into this. I think I'm going to become maybe like kind of a goth horror
kind of like a groupie
person. Yeah, a groupie.
Just hang out outside stage doors waiting for Richard Mazer so you can flash him.
I would never do that either. But thankfully, he's not listening to this episode, which is...
I hope he's not, because I feel like I'm going all in on him in a way that is unnecessarily unkind.
In a way in which you would have liked him and wanted to hug him as well. So, with that said, that's my biggest news.
Was that such an exciting, wonderful, cool event that it was better than recording an episode where we talked about our favorite movie of the summer last weekend? Because that's why we did not record our favorite episode of our favorite movie of the summer last weekend.
Yes, it was. That is why. But in fact...
think of what you've just said. I was rude to a man who's not listening to our podcast. You were just rude to all of our listeners.
That is also very fair. And that's
what do we love more than pleasing our listeners, Carrie?
We love talking about top 5 summer 2022.
It wasn't actually the transition I was going for, but I'm pleased that you leapt on it anyway.
I just felt my inner Rob coming out.
I feel between you and I, we equal like 1/8 of Rob's ability to transition between ideas.
It's true.
You'll notice that I have stopped our transition and indeed gone backwards.
You have gone backwards, and we will be doing a lot of that during this episode.
Because what we haven't talked about is, because we don't talk about it in this kind of context ever, but no one's going to stop me because Rob is the grown up and he's not here.
I won't stop you.
I just want to let everybody know that I saw Avatar this weekend, the re-release of Avatar 1.
Yes.
On the IMAX 3D.
So did Rob. Literally yesterday.
Well, that's probably why he's not on our podcast, because he spent 3 hours doing that rather than working on the podcast.
But were you in the same theater?
Was it the Marcus Point?
No, he drove all the way to Chicago to see it.
Well, that's
absurd, right?
That's a thing you could do, I guess. No wonder he's not on our fucking episode.
Yeah, he's
this
exhausted.
Week.
He's a hot mess. He's just completely melted into a pile of his own life.
I went to the fucking Marcus Point Ultra screen on Mineral Point.
No, he was like, I will not show my children Avatar on just any screen. I'm going to drive to the biggest 70 megapixel screen that I can find somewhere in Illinois.
I mean, the good IMAX in Chicago is gone. It didn't survive the pandemic.
There's one that's left, though. It's like in one of the suburbs.
It's like in Skokie, I think.
Yes, something like that. So he drove all the way there and took our neighbors. No other parents. He took our neighbors with them, too, the kids, and drove all the way there.
Where were you?
I was at this wine thing in Michigan.
Okay, so you were like doing something fun. So it's not
something.
like he was just like, Carrie, watch the dogs. I'm going to go drive 12 hours to see Avatar.
No, he was doing it all, but he did it right. But yeah, he's just running himself into the ground, I tell you. But
I do want to say though, the point I brought it up was not to extend sympathy towards Rob, because fuck that dude. But I love you, Rob. We miss you so much. This is what happens when you're not here. It really holds up. It's really, really good. You should see it again. You, Carrie, and you, every other person on this podcast, you should watch Avatar in theaters, because it's fucking good.
That is awesome. Did you go alone?
No, got a big group together. I was sort of the ringmaster. A bunch of people who hadn't seen Avatar in years, one guy who hadn't seen it at all of whom liked it, all of
Mm-hmm.
whom are now super fucking stoked to see Avatar: The Way of Water, which is going to be my birthday weekend movie. So,
Yay.
Carrie, I will invite you on the air in front of all of our listeners. You and Rob have to go see Avatar: The Way of Water with me in December because it's my birthday.
I
And that's my
absolutely will do
rule.
that. Where are we going to see it?
Not to Chicago because Jesus God.
Raw will drive.
Probably just Marcus Point again. It's fine. It's
Okay.
good enough.
I'm super excited. Do you have any fears about it not holding up to the original?
Not after having seen the sneak preview during the credits of the reissue of the original. It
Okay.
looks so pretty, and I am an easy mark for pretty.
That's true. That's true. I like feelings over form. I'm a little bit worried about.
It's such a feelingful movie, though. I
Is
felt
it?
so many feelings during
Oh, the
Avatar.
first one for sure. But I'm like, is it going to veer a little strange with like the water babies and like the water avatars, the new worlds that it dives into? Literally, is it? I don't know. As if it's going to get a little, if it's going to move too far. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll hold up.
I mean, the shot, the screen, the scene I saw, and there's multiple scenes. So depending on where you see it and what format, it's going to have a different sneak preview of the second Avatar. The one I saw was a little blue alien teenager removing a harpoon from a whale,
Mm-hmm.
and the whale like thanks him in whale ease,
Mm-hmm.
and it was cute. It was very sweet. It was a sweet tender moment between a boy and a whale.
All right. Well, my hopes are high too. I loved Avatar. Was that for Halloween. I've told you the story about getting walked in
Yeah,
naked.
because you thought it was one of the best costumes.
Yeah, best costumes. Got a
'Cause we
hole in
had
the
a-
crotch early
We had
on.
a failure of discussing what the word costume meant before we recorded that episode. I was thinking of that whilst watching Avatar, actually.
Are you? Good. I think about it as well. But I am super excited to hear that too. I will watch it before we go for your birthday as well so that I can feel really refreshed on it. But in the meantime, too.
You should see it like right now. You should see it this week. Make Rob babysit for you while you go do that because he like flitted off to Chicago while you were getting drunk and shoving cheese down your mouth.
It's true. It's true. Maybe I'll make him go again. I think he wouldn't mind. And neither would the kids. They also loved it. They were very,
Good.
very excited.
Good.
So, all of that said, this is our top 5 of the summer of 2022, which we're always excited to talk about, or I usually am, not this year in particular for certain reasons.
This
but
year,
It's a little
what are
grim.
your certain reasons?
You will get there when we get.
All
I'm
right.
it's
I
the
love
most embarrassed I've ever been on any episode. That is for sure. Not only because I'm a terrible host, but also because my list is also a giant dumpster fire. But also, the other thing that we do at the top of these episodes are always a little bit of a look back of our original opinions on what we thought was going to be the best movies of the summer.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear where we landed, Tim. Love for you to lay
Well,
that out.
So there were 14 films. I'm sorry, there were 13 films, rather. I can count. There was a lucky 13 on our list of anticipated movies that we published back in May. One of those films, which would originally have opened this very weekend because it was a fall release, not a summer release, and yet there it was on our summer preview, was Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, which tragically, unforeseeably, was delayed to spring of next year.
So it gets a solid 2.5 then, right? In your scoring?
I mean, well, so typically I give zeros for that sort of situation, but given the kind of clattering wreck of the rest of the list, I felt bad doing that. So I just marked it out.
Okay.
So that's the thing. Of the remaining 12 films that actually opened, I'm just gonna put it out there. Did you see all 12 of them, Carrie?
Mostly. I was a little short.
Go ahead.
I was a little bit short. I missed a couple.
I missed one.
Which one?
I missed one of mine.
Which one?
Actually, I missed both sides of the blade.
Oh, wow.
I was in a position where I could choose between either Both Sides of the Blade or Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I could watch one of those before our episode, but not both. And Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris wasn't going to have subtitles.
Uh-huh.
So I knew that I could pay less than 100% attention to it. And then it had subtitles for some scenes. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh my gosh.
But so I missed my own most anticipated film, Both Sides of the Blade. What were the ones you missed, Carrie?
So I missed Nope, which I actually really wanted to see, and then it was
That was on
1999.
your top five.
I know. I feel so bad about it. I kept thinking I was going to get to theaters to see it before the episode, and then didn't. And so I missed that, and then I missed Benediction. But I did catch Both Sides of the Blade, as well as Mrs.
All
Harris
right.
Goes to Paris, as well as Luz, Luz, Lovey, Eterna.
Looks like Turna, which
Lux Eterna.
I will say
We'll get there.
this.
We'll get there. Don't say anything.
We'll get there. Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there.
I am so eager to talk about so much
I
today.
am so eager to discuss Lux Eterna with you, because it blows my mind when you
get
give
there.
me. So when we do this, I ask Rob and Carrie for their scores without independently. Like I don't want them to share their scores with each other. I just want to see them for me. I enter them. I get all the numbers together. When I saw your score for Lux Eterna, I just shit. I was
That's
so
right where you
excited
were.
by how high it was.
I have so many feelings about it. Deep, deep feelings about it that I'm excited to
And
talk
not
about.
unmixedly negative ones, which blew my mind.
We will get there. We will absolutely
We will get there.
So where did we land?
Well, it's tough. It makes it feel a little weird and empty because Rob's not here. We can't really talk about how Rob did with his own picks. I will say this: of the three of us, you, Carrie, liked your own films the best, such as you saw them, the three that you saw. I liked my own films the best. So we did succeed at the level of correctly predicting our own taste, more or less.
Okay.
And that's
Where it ends. That's
where it ends. There's just not a.
the rest is a cluster. Your
I will
list is
say.
all
I will
over
say the other
place.
thing. It is unambiguously the case that I won.
I see
because
that.
I'm the one who picked Top Gun Maverick.
I know. Yeah.
Which is the only film any of us actually seems to have liked from our anticipated list.
This is true. I've got another. We'll see. I guess we'll get there a little bit more in detail.
Actually,
when we go through it.
again, I haven't seen Both Sides of the Blade. I did quite enjoy the other four films on my list that I did see. So I certainly don't think I picked anything that I disliked. I will say, so Carrie, of the three of films on your list that you have seen, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Thor, Love and Thunder, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, you gave the lowest score to Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
I know. And I have feelings about that too. And I'm really eager to see what you thought about
You know
it as
what's super weird?
What?
Is I gave that film a higher score than you did.
I find that very weird as well.
I'm at a 3 and you're at a 2.5.
I was ticked at Mrs. Harris. I don't know. Mrs. Harris was bugging
It's
me.
cute. It is exactly the movie I thought it was going to be. So I'm curious what you were expecting that did not get delivered for you.
I think, we won't probably have to talk about it when we get to our top five.
It's not on my top 5, and I'm guessing it's not on your top 5 unless you literally only saw 5 movies.
It isn't. And that's where I think for me on that one, I expected to love it. I was in DC at the time when I went back to the office for the first time. I missed a get together with people from work. Took a cab for 45 minutes to get to this $1 theater in the middle of nowhere in the DC area. I was pretty sure I was gonna get abducted just to see this movie. I went in, I had some stale popcorn, sat down in the theater that was completely empty except for somebody who had COVID who was sitting 10 feet away from me. And I was already the experience wasn't great. And I expected to warm up to Mrs. Harris in a way where I just wanted to be her friend. I thought she would want to be my friend and that I'd really like her. And instead, I just found her kind of annoying. I just felt like her choices were annoying. This is first 5 minutes of the movie. Her husband passes away. And then it's kind of meh.
Well, to be fair, in the first 5 minutes of the movie, she discovers that her husband passed away 12 years ago.
Oh, it was that much time?
Yeah, she's been keeping the light lit, so to speak, ever since he went missing in 1944 during the war. It is now 1957.
Oh.
And she just now learns that he, in fact, they found his remains.
Oh, see, I thought it was a little bit of a shorter time frame. So I'm this lady's not even grieving. I didn't even really see her shed a tear. She just really turns it around fast. But that means she probably kind of assumed that he had passed before.
That is, I think, the implication that we are given. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. There were just some things about her that in this whole series of events, I didn't vibe with Mrs. Harris in a way that I really enjoyed. And then I don't like snobby people, and the dress people were so snobby. And then
But they received their comeuppance. They are the villains of the piece.
I know. I don't know. It just didn't hit with me. The whole and then this is the other thing I'll say about it. It felt like jammed together in a weird way. Like the way that it all unfolded, just the pacing of it or something about it just felt like the edits were weird. I don't know. I just never warmed up to it.
It takes her a billion years to get to Paris.
Yes.
Like, I know she's going to Paris. It's in the title. Why is it 45 minutes into the 2-hour movie that she shows up in Paris?
Yeah, yeah. And then this is a spoiler, so I won't say it, but the choice that she makes at the end, why did you do that, Miss Harris? Like, that was a stupid choice.
She's kind to a degree that it is bad for her to be that kind, is why she made that choice.
I wouldn't have done that choice. You know, I just was like, this is not going to end well.
That's because you're not kind, and Mrs. Harris is kind.
I know. Well, I guess I'm looking for a more evil side of Mrs. Harris. And maybe if she was more rational and evil,
Did you want to see her like curb stomp the wannabe actress, like kick her down a flight of stairs and like laugh at her?
Yeah, clearly she was being taken advantage of. Know that. And then just stand up for yourself, Mrs. Harris. And she just is like a wet noodle over there. So I didn't love that one, but I'm shocked that you did love it more than I.
Well, love is not the word I used. I said I gave it a 3 and you gave it a 2.5.
I think I'll play it back. I think you said like I adored this movie, but I don't know. We'll let the listeners decide.
Carrie, you and I try to stay healthy, right?
You know, I mean, I try to exercise most days. I eat a lot of egg whites and kale until about 4 p.m. And then I'm just chips and dip until bedtime.
Same. And like you, Care, packing all the healthy stuff in meals to try to reach my goals hasn't worked. And, you know, I hate taking vitamins and pills. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, Athletic Greens AG1 has the answer. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens to help start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy recovery, focus, and aging. All the things.
But here's the thing. It sounds great, but it also sounds like it tastes kind of healthy.
No, it actually tastes great, not healthy. It has a tropical flavor that makes me think of our upcoming trip to the Caribbean. And it will leave you feeling more alert and clear during the day. Also helps you get your Z's.
You know I can use all those things, but Rob, you also know I'm a little bit cheap. So how much would something like this set us back?
Care, it's cheap enough even for you.
Whoa!
AG1 is less than $3 a day, so you're investing in your health instead of that cold brew habit.
Okay, all right. Sign me up.
Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/emerging. That's EMERGING. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/emerging to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Right.
So
in terms of our most anticipated, that's kind of where we landed. I didn't do a shitty job. Carrie didn't do a great job.
It wasn't great for me
her
this
own
year.
Favorites. Rob will never know. I guess we'll just have to assume that Rob hated all of his, and that I therefore have a clear and unambiguous victory. The other thing that we announced our picks for was the box office.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned this on our last episode. The spreadsheet that I use for determining the score of who did the best job predicting the box office isn't equipped to deal with how badly we all three did.
We're getting worse with time. That's great.
The only one of us who had Top Gun in his top 5, period, was Rob. Mm-hmm. Top Gun Maverick, which is not just the success story of the summer, one of the box office stories of all time, I would say. Record after record after record. I believe only the second or third film to ever have the number 1 spot at the box office, both on Memorial Day weekend, which was its opening weekend, and on Labor Day weekend. Happened with E.T., and I think actually happened with Top Gun 1 as well in 1986. Making just money hand over fist, like glided past 700 million, still taking in money, probably going to end up at 725, 730 by the time all said and done. And Rob, who was the most bullish on this film's chances, was predicting 300 for it. Mathematically, I can tell you what I was predicting because I know what I was predicting. I was predicting 225. and you, Carrie, were predicting 200 or less.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
So Top Gun Maverick was the sort of inexplicable object that just completely butchered all of our ability to predict the box office. And then, in addition to severely underestimating Top Gun Maverick, all three of us severely overestimated Disney Pixar's Lightyear, which was the flop of the summer.
It was terrible.
Unambiguously the most embarrassing box office performance of any film this year. Scraped its way over 100 million. I think it ended up at 122 or something like that. A terrible movie on top of it, I might add. And I was the one who had the lowest Lightyear penalty, so to speak, but we all three got pretty fucked by Lightyear. So when all is said and done, the only winner was not playing at all. But Rob sort of did better than me,
mm-hmm.
and both Rob and I definitely did better than you.
I feel that, yeah.
But none of us get to be proud of our performance with the box office predictions.
We've all failed.
So I'm not saying any of us won. I'm saying that Rob is in 7th place, I'm in 8th place, and you're 12th place.
12th. The least loser. He's the least loser.
He's the loser who has the fewest reasons to put his head in a paper sack.
Okay.
All said and done.
All right. Well,
that's why he's a movie producer and you and I are not.
Yeah, right. But that's why we have this amazing taste. And what I would say is that even if we didn't maybe pick the best predictions for the year, I think we walked away with, actually, now that I'm even saying that out loud, I still hate my list for today. So I actually have nothing I'm going to walk away from in this episode because my list for today is terrible too.
It's been a rough summer. It's been a rough summer.
I'm glad you're admitting that because right now it's the most embarrassed I've ever been.
And admitting, what's to admit? It's a bad summer.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying I could see you being well, I found a few that I really enjoyed, and for me,
I did tough. By going to movies that got released in 2 theaters in Los Angeles and played 4 screenings in the entire United States. That's where I had to find my top 5.
Yeah, this was rough, and I think we'll start in with our top 5s, and I think we're going to start off coming in a little bit hot on mine, but I'd love for you to start with your top, or with your number 5 first.
My number 5?
Yes.
So my number 5 is a film that was not on my anticipated list for one and only one reason. And that is that I was not convinced it was going to open. It did. It opened, ultimately, I think it opened on the 26th, or maybe it got bumped up, I forget what, of August. One of the last films of the summer. George Miller's 7 years later follow-up to Mad Max Fury Road, finally making his next feature film. Really goofy, weird, romantic fantasy satire thing about a genie who appears in a hotel room to Tilda Swinton. The genie's played by Idris Elba. And this is the story of 3,000 years of longing.
Oh, I didn't see this. Can you tell me about it, though? I heard other people talking about it.
So basically Tilda Swinton is a scholar who studies narration, which is near and dear to my heart because there's a couple narratologists here in the UW-Madison Film Program. Not the same kind of narratologist she is, but people who study narrative. So she goes to Istanbul for a conference. While she's there, she buys an interesting looking glass vial that she's just very drawn to, it's calling her name in the shop. So she grabs it, she scrubs some soot off of it, and in the process unleashes a genie. And the genie demands that she make her 3 wishes so he can go on with the next part of his life as a genie. A jinn, they always use the word jinn in the movie, which is the actual correct Arabic word. And she's like, no, I study narration for a living, and therefore I know that whoever wishes things in a story like this always gets fucked up the ass later on. So I'm not going to wish. I'm not going to, play that game. I'm not going to wish for, a hot dog and you drop a 40-ton hot dog on my head and I die. That's not what's going to happen here. So in order to try and thaw her out and make the wishes, the jinn tells her his life story going back 3,000 years and how over the course of several incidents, and there's sort of 4 main chunks of the plot. He interacted with various humans, and through his own sort of idiocy about interacting with women, managed to keep getting himself trapped back in the lamp over and over again, or the glass vial
Mm-hmm.
eventually, and how he ended up in this hotel room in Istanbul in the 2020s during the pandemic. It is set during the pandemic. It was very clearly shot during the pandemic, and that's kind of the good part of the movie. It then gets really loopy and maybe shitty for the last quarter of its running time or so. But I'm so into that first hour where it's just all of this really cool design, and like it's like unabashedly digital. Like this movie was shot digitally, it was made in computers. Like there's so much like digital effects work, but that's kind of like what's special and lively about it. So it feels very fake, but in a sort of fantastical and exciting way. And it's Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba wearing bathrooms and flirting with each other for 2 hours.
Sold.
I mean, what
Absolutely.
else do you need out of a movie?
Nothing more. Is this one, if you know that I happen to love gins, that I would like?
I think you'd like this. I've already told you that the ending is shit. So you're going to walk in having calibrated your expectations for a shitty ending.
Yeah.
And I think you like it.
But sometimes you and I have a different opinion. Like maybe I'll think the ending is actually like makes sense and is coherent and
You'd be the only person I know who does.
okay. All right.
I know people who gave the movie 1 star and hate the ending. I know people who gave the film 4 stars, which is what I gave it, and hated the ending. I don't know anyone who gave the movie any ranking and liked the ending.
So you know what that's going to do. That's going to challenge me to watch this and love it because you've said
You're going
that
to only like the ending. You're going to think the whole thing is
only like
garbage,
the
but those
ending.
last 10 minutes are
My-
really going to save it for you.
My letterbox review is going to be like the best last 10 minutes of a movie I've ever seen.
Yes.
Can you say the title one more time though?
3,000 years of longing.
3,000 years of longing. Yeah, I had heard about that. Well, I am excited. And jumping into my number 5, I also had a unique experience in the last 10 minutes of this movie. Mine, though, was slightly different because I actually did consider the fact that I might be having a seizure and that I might be dying at the end of this film. This one, I've mentioned in the past, I have a little bit of auditory overload challenges. So the last 10 minutes of this movie, it might.
If you told me I don't have to bet anything and I can make 30 guesses, and if I guess once right in those 30 guesses, I'll get $10,000, what film will you and I both have in our top fives? I would not be walking away with $10,000.
I knew you were going to be like, what is happening in my life?
What is happening in my life?
I did not hate this movie in any way. This is Lux Eterna. I have it in at number 5.
I have it at number 2.
Holy schmolies.
I need to know what you liked about this film. It's upsetting my ontology of taste
So
that you liked this film.
Here's the thing. It's only 51 minutes long. So I knew you said I was going to hate it. I knew you said that I was going to have a seizure. And I was like, I'm not going to have a seizure because of my contrarian thing that I have. So I was like, I'm going to be fine. So the entire movie, as I was watching it, like every 5 minutes, I was liking it. 5 minutes, liking it. But I kept tapping to see how much time was left because I was like, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Nothing about this movie I hate. I'm into this movie. I'm really liking this movie. I just like kept doing, but I was waiting for like what in your mind I wouldn't like about it. And I was like, something's going to come. There's going to be a horse with a giant phallic situation that like jumps out and starts whapping people with it. And I'm going to be like, oh God. And like, turn it
I
off.
too do enjoy Sorry to Bother You.
I know.
Good callback.
I hated that. So I was like, something like that. I kept expecting it to happen. And then I rounded in and I was like, I've only got 10 minutes to go. And I'm still on board with this movie. And then the seizure
And then the
part,
last 10 minutes happened.
the last 10 minutes happen. So again, the auditory overload thing that I have normally, what was happening there, which is the most chaos I've ever heard in my entire life from an auditory perspective, would throw me for a loop. However, because I also was experiencing visual overload and stimuli, it was almost like the combination of those two things literally melted my brain for the last 10 minutes so that it was so gooey and that I just felt like I started to sort of like spin around and I felt a little bit faint. And then it was over and I was still alive. And I was like, what in the F did I just experience? But I kind of liked it.
I'm so excited.
So weird.
Oh my God. I'm so happy you liked it.
The whole thing. Okay. And so leading into the first 40 minutes, that first scene where it's like, so I'll explain to others too. This sounds like a crazy movie if I haven't said it. These two actresses are set on a film set and they're talking in this sort of side by side visual. Like you see these two panels side by side.
It's a split screen.
Yes, that's a better way to say it. They're like just gabbing. And I think it's Beatrice Dalle?
It's Beatrice Dalle and Charlotte Gainsbourg.
Yes. And Beatrice has this...
playing themselves.
Yes. And she has this like raspy, smokery laugh / like cough that I just want to like be in that room with the two of them sitting on a chair and like listening to them laugh and chatter and whatever. And I was just so into their conversation. It's all subtitled, but I was so into their conversation and just how like passionate they were about what they were talking about. They were just loving the interaction.
Here is a fun fact. So that first conversation is about 12, 15, 20 some minutes of the movie.
Yep.
A large chunk of this very short movie. What happened is, so what the movie is, Gaspar Noé, who is this very like famous French provocateur, he makes these movies that are just like deliberately unpleasant and cruel and hard to watch. I forget what company was like, hey, we were like making this series of like art film commercials. Do you want to make one for us? And he's like, I don't really want to make a commercial. And they're like, no. There's no rules. Like if you can get us a movie by day X, you can make it however you want. And it really should have Beatrice Dalle in it because like we've been working with her. And he's like, okay. And it was like day X was in like 20 days. So he like came up with the entire idea for the movie in like a week. Started shooting it, had begun practicing the split screen thing, had no idea what he was doing. At the end of the shoot was like, okay, I figured it out by the time we finished, but I really don't like the first scene. And so he asked his two actresses, could you, now that we figured it out, now that we know what's going on, can we reshoot the first scene? And Charlotte Gainsbourg was like, I can't, like, I literally have to be on a bus in like an hour. And so he said, can you guys just sit down and talk for the hour that Charlotte has, and I'll just film you and we'll figure out what to do with it later. And that's how the first scene came into being.
That's amazing context because that's exactly what it feels like. I feel like I'm a fly on the wall with just this like, they're like slumped back in their chair, just like shooting the shit. Like they're just loving, just like chatting. It feels casual. It feels like candid. Like you're just not, it just feels like they were just chatting. I didn't feel like anything about it was scripted. And I loved that. And you can feel that Beatrice is a powerhouse. Like even from that conversation, she just has this presence about her that I'm just like, I like to be around those people that you could just like get behind in a fight, you know? And like, that's what she looks like to me. And then that happens. So like after this conversation, then they go in, they're trying to film this sort of like,
it's meant to be Beatrice's first film as a director. It's going to be like this sort of remake of Carl Dreyer's Day of Wrath, but it's like a witch burning movie.
Witch burning.
It's like this feminist witch burning movie, and it just goes badly.
Yes,
it's sabotaged, and also there's just some run of the mill errors that are happening.
It gets hysterical for sure, and she's screaming and she's yelling. And again, what the other thing that Gaspar is doing, we're Gaspar and I on a first name basis now.
Of course,
the thing that Gaspar is doing is also like he's taking like different audio files from different parts of the space, so like one from one room and one from the other, and blending the two together so it really feels like you're in that chaos of chatter where like voices are overlaying. So my ears are just constantly trying to move from conversation to conversation to like understand what the world is happening, which again, I was so overloaded, but I felt like when I walked away from it, like, yes, I shaved off 5 years of my life, but also what an inventive like experience. Like it was such an experience.
So happy.
And I really liked it. I want to tell people about it.
So happy.
It was so weird.
I want to make you watch Vortex now, which is the next film he made, although it actually came out in this country slightly before Lux Eterna. It came out in April. But also split screen.
Okay.
And that's all I want you to know about it.
That's all that I want to know. The last thing I'll say about this, I did think where I was going to start not liking it was I thought it was going to be like, I thought it was going to turn porn on me. And it never did. It never does that. No. Like it just stayed pretty clean. I mean, I saw a boob here and there, but not like, I thought it was going to be something different. Like there was going to be a violent element to it that I would be turned off by. And again, none of that happens. And it's just
the only violence done by that movie is to the viewer, not to any of the characters.
Exactly. And I love that. I love to be a victim of violence. So I don't mean that. Yeah,
I don't even care what the rest of our list is. I feel so good.
I feel so good right now too. And we didn't need Rob. See, again, Rob would hate this movie.
Rob would have shit on it. Rob would have not bet exactly.
Or he would have lied and said he liked it just to be a part of the group. One or the other.
Also a possibility.
Also a possibility. So here we are just telling our truth about this movie. So that was my number 5.
All right. So my number 4 then?
Yes.
Also a film that was not on my anticipated list because I had already seen it by the time we did our anticipated list. I saw this at the Wisconsin Film Festival in April of this year, but it didn't get released until the summer when it got a pretty short theatrical run prior to being put out on Shudder. So you can currently watch it streaming on Shudder, which I think is a real bummer because I think it's really, really great on the big screen. I've seen it now both ways, and it was just so much better in the theater. But I am talking about Mad God, which I think I've actually talked about on the air before. Phil Tippett spent 20 years of his life trying to get this stop motion post-apocalypse nightmare hellscape made, and he made it, and now it's out in the world and you can see it. And it's basically a 80-minute stop motion animated feature about plunging into hell. And that's that. And that's the movie. And it's just really harrowing and beautiful, but in a sort of like gloomy, dark way. And I love stop motion animation, so it had to go on the list. It's not a disciplined film, which is probably why I don't have it higher than this. It's a movie that has some weird scenes that I don't think quite play. It's a movie that gets in over its head as it's trying to wrap things up to get to the ending, but a very singular vision. This is Phil Tippett's movie start to finish, and typically all filmmaking, typically animation certainly, is a collaborative medium, and he worked with collaborators, like he had people help him execute the film, but this is one man's vision, and it's a very bleak one, but in a way that I really liked.
And so I envision when you arrive at hell, is it kind of like oomph, and there's like a little poof of like dust when they like land there?
In fact, I believe that is what happens, although it happens fairly early on in the movie. And then,
Okay.
then once the poof, then he starts walking through hell.
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, I think I'm visualizing what this, I think it's because I imagine if that's where I end up going, that's what would happen. I would just land with a poof down at the bottom of a pit.
I love it.
Or something like that. So do you think other people would like this, or is this just a you
I think
movie?
other people would. I don't think you're one of them.
No. Okay. Well, I don't really like to think about those kinds of
Although,
things.
I don't know, Lux Eterna, so now the sky's the limit. Maybe I'll just start recommending all my weird shit to you.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's probably an excellent segue into my number 4, which is another weird shit recommendation of yours as well. And in fact, it's one that you have not yet seen, but I'll tell you a little bit about it.
I'm excited.
So at number 4 for me is Both Sides of the Blade, which I am both horrified to have 2 of your films on my list for so many reasons. Like this violates all the rules of my cheating, all the rules of my self identity. Everything is in question for me right now. But when I actually step back, this was a movie that I think you will really, really like, but it feels a little bit too I don't want to say cookie cutter, but it's a movie you've probably kind of seen before. I guess I'll say that about it. Did you happen to read my Letterboxd review of this movie?
I deliberately did not. I saw the star rating and I was like, ooh, but I did not read the review.
So I'm going to tell this does not give anything away, but I will tell you briefly about my experience with watching Both Sides of the Blade. So for those of you who haven't seen it, which is all of you or most of you, Both Sides of the Blade is a story about a woman who's caught in a love triangle with 2 men. So one, she's got this longtime partner who's played by Vincent Linden. Real cutie, right out of the gate. I'm like, oh, I really like that guy. And then it's Juliette Binoche is the woman at the center of it. And then there's another gentleman. I've never seen this guy before, but it's her former lover. But he's best friends with Vincent Linden. So that guy. So this is the triangle. Thus the triangle. But then the movie starts off and it's beautiful. It's just it's Claire. Is it Claire Denis or Claire Denis?
Claire Denis.
Denis. God. Okay, Claire Denis. So
Claire Denis.
Oh,
favorite
Claire
filmmaker.
Denis. She's the worst. No, it's beautiful. Shot really in a beautiful way. But you meet Juliette Binoche and the relationship between Vincent Lindon. It is the most believable couple you've ever met. They feel like old worn shoes. The way that they kiss each other and they touch each other and the way that they move together just feels like real. Like the whole, I mean, it's so real. It's so believable. You love it. And so I was really, really into it from that. So then I was like, oh, I'm just going to start this off. I'm sitting on a flight watching this movie though. And I'm sitting between
Oh, French art film. Never, ever, ever.
so
Never French art film in public.
the worst case. So I started off. Yeah, it would get so much worse, Tim. It gets so worse. So the guys are probably both like 35. I was like, oh, this seems like a nice, like romantic, maybe a comedy. I don't know. We'll find out what happens. So I take that airplane thing that like it's a little clip so that I can like place it so that everybody can see my French art film. And I was like, I'll just pop it up there so I don't have to have my neck cranked down so that I can just like look straight on at it. So I was like, oh, okay. So I'm watching the movie. It's romantic, but I'm fine. I'm like cruising along. But then it starts to escalate a little bit. And I was like, oh, there's a boob. And I was like, oh, like they're making love. Like, and it started to get awkward. And I was like, oh, it's like steamy love, not just like they're under the sheets, whatever. I couldn't even.
No, that's not how they film it in France.
No, it's like a giant boob, just like
You probably see somebody fingering somebody else's butthole. It's French.
Yeah, you do, Tim. You really do.
Do you?
So,
You really do?
So, oh God, I don't even want. I'm like sweating, rethinking about it happening all over again. So what I decided was, you're a 40-year-old woman almost. It's right around the corner. You're a mature woman. Like, it's just a scene. Like, just hold your ground. Then I got to a point
just a
where
bunch of professionals in front of a camera,
yeah,
jerking off on each other. That's all it is.
Yeah, I was like, you can push through. Just don't pretend that they don't see it. Like, they're pretending they don't see it. Like, just look straight on. Then, like, the third scene in, I think I saw a butthole, and then I was just like, no. And I just like I snatched it out of the thing, like opened up a game of solitaire and never made eye contact again. But I was so into the movie. So here's the thing. I had like 30 minutes to go, but I was like, I cannot. Like, I just can't. So I then like quickly got out the cab. I'm like, I can't watch it in the cab. Like, what if there's sounds? I couldn't do it. So like I got home from my flight at like 1:00 in the morning. I cranked that movie right back on under the sheets. Like, I started.
Oh yeah, I mean that's how you have a good night's sleep.
Yeah,
just
going to bed. So I thought this movie was beautiful. I thought it was super. It's really sexy. It's a very sexy movie, not to be watched on an airplane where everybody can see it. I will say, like, the downside of it for me is, again, feelings over form. I'm just like, Juliette Binoche, you're on my list. You're on my crap list. I did not care for her behaviors.
Okay, good to know.
She makes some choices that are unsavory that you're going to be like, Juliette Binoche, get your shit together. Like, she was just, okay. I was mad at her, and I was a little bit mad at Vincent Lindon. I just wish there was no triangle and it was just the two of them romancing each other for the duration of the movie, and that's not what happens. But
okay.
I do recommend it. I do actually
think
it's really good.
I'm looking forward to seeing it, so I'll try to catch up.
Did I tell you? I told you too much, didn't I?
No, not at all.
Okay, good. All right.
I mean, you actually told me very little about the content, other than that there's a butthole.
That was the whole. That was the whole thing, though. It's just
that was the whole thing.
That was good. That was good.
There you go.
So that's my number 4.
All right. So my number 3 is a film from my list that I bet would have been on your list if you'd seen it, which you didn't because you don't love me. It's Benediction.
You think that I would have really liked this?
I mean, I don't fucking know now. You liked Lux Aeterna. Again, like, my entire concept of how this podcast works has been upended.
Broken. Tell me about it. What did I miss?
So Benediction is the newest film by Terence Davies, who I think is one of the great filmmakers of our times. Liverpool-based, gay ex-Catholic, Marxist atheist, whole bundle of good things in there. And this is officially a biopic of the poet Siegfried Sassoon, who was a veteran of World War I, who wrote several poems about his experiences in the war. Fairly well received. He's not like one of the best known poems of his era or whatever, but that's kind of where he comes from. And the film is largely about him as a young-ish man, like in his 20s into his 30s, played by Jack Lowden, uh, navigating the gay underground of England in the 30s ish, 20s, 30s, maybe into the 40s, when it was still very much illegal to be gay in England, and the various relationships he strikes up with men in that scene, like very important artists. The actor Ivor Novello is one of his main lovers, and this is all true. This is a true story. And basically, the way that Terrence Davies sort of reconceives this material is that Sassoon survived the war and doesn't think he deserved to. Mm-hmm. He feels like, why did he, when these other people, including the first man he ever loved and the only one who ever truly loved him back, rather than just kind of using him for sex, why did he survive and these people did not? And so the sense we get is that he's kind of using these relationships with all of these really terribly abusive men to punish himself constantly over and over and over again, until eventually he becomes this embittered old man played by Peter Capaldi, who nobody plays an embittered old man better than Peter Capaldi, who at the end of his life has sort of failed, like his life didn't go right, and he's kind of just stuck with that, and the end, and war is hell, and ends up being basically about how war breaks you, and at the end of war you're broken, and that's just something you can't get through. Great movie, really uplifting, really real peppy.
I just sort of melted into that description. I'm just sort of like, I feel a little down now, even more so than the trip to hell, the journey to hell that you had in
both my full review and my Letterboxd review. I singled out the final shot of the movie.
Yeah,
which, how sometimes you're watching a movie and you're like, oh, that's the final shot. I can tell. Like I could tell it was going to be the final shot, because as I was watching it, I thought to myself, if he cuts to credits, it will have been the most depressing possible point of this entire film to cut to credits.
And it did.
And he cut to credits.
Oh.
Great movie. Really good time.
Good time. That sounds...
A real pick-me-up.
Real good. That sounds real good. So that's Benediction.
Benediction.
I'm my completionist. I'll have to see it, but
it's okay. I just gave you. I said that you gave it 4.5 stars on my average, so my average looks fine. It's fine.
Yeah. I could see that based on the description. It's hard to know where to go from there, and really, frankly, I feel as though your love that I know you. I can feel the love and energy that you have for me right now, and it's about to go away. I'm
excited. I know there's a film that's coming up in either your second or third slot that is not a movie I love, and that's fine.
This one's going to be one you're not going to expect, and you're also not going to love it. But for some unknown reason, I've never forgotten it, and I really enjoyed it. And this is my animated pick for the summer. Do you know what I'm going to say?
This is what I thought you were leading up to, yes.
Is it a story about a loving dog and his super companion?
It is not that thing.
I knew it wasn't. I didn't like the one that you're thinking about, but what I did love is...
I was thinking you meant the Shell movie.
No, this is number 3, DC League of Super Pets. I love this movie.
Really?
I mean, love is maybe strong. Love is probably a strong word, but...
You tolerated this movie?
I didn't even tolerate it. I found it hilarious. I loved the characters. I love old turtles that are really slow. There's like an old turtle that just like made my day in this entire movie. I actually really thought the humor in this really worked for me. And I thought sometimes, so here's what I'll say about this movie too. It's sometimes either the humor is geared at the kids and it's just like, that's farts. Like it's just farts. And it's like, okay, we've all heard the farts, like whatever. Or it's over the heads of the kids. Like it doesn't really like make sense to them and it's all geared at the adults. I feel like this one did such a great job of tailoring itself to both. Like it was like clever humor and the animals were funny and there was a fun dynamic, but the kids got it. And Rob and I were just like cracking up through this entire movie.
I haven't recovered from the name of the film you said. I'm still like reeling.
Let me tell you what happens for those who haven't seen it. This is Crypto's super dog and Superman best friends. love each other. They fly around. They save the day. They fight crime. And then in Metropolis, that's where they live. However, Superman gets captured. And there's also some other like complex dynamics that are happening because Superman also maybe has a love interest and Krypto's feeling a little bit left out. That also could be a part of the subplot of this movie. But then Krypto has to sort of pull himself up from the bootstraps, master his own powers, and then maybe get a little bit of a super crew team of other pets who might...
a league of super pets.
Yeah, though that's what he does. But they're not the animals you would expect. He doesn't run out and get like the strongest, most powerful thing. He runs out and like gets people who are just your everyday pet store pets and
who've been zapped by a comet to have superpowers.
Yeah. And
each one of which maps onto one of the DC superheroes.
I know. And the turtle is so fast. I think that maps to Zippy the Flash. Zippy the Flash. There's also a Batman who maps to like a little dog maybe too. I don't know. I've already forgotten, but I loved it when I saw it and the kids loved it. And I left feeling like that was unexpectedly delightful. This was DC League of Super Pets.
I love that there's the capacity for as just bereft and broken as the summer has been, that DC League of Super Pets and Looks Like Turner could be 2 spots away on any imaginable list of the films that came out this summer.
Told you it was going to be weird, Tim. I told you
super weird.
It was going to be weird.
I feel weird.
I knew you would feel weird, and that's why it's probably time to take a break. But before we head to our break, you might be wondering, Tim and others, how do I support this show?
I am not wondering that in this moment.
You're canceling. You don't want to support this show. You probably don't. But if you do want to support the show, you can support through Patreon. You can get early access and exclusive content, make us watch a movie, pick your own episode topic, and more through our Patreon site, just like Matthew Carlin and Joe Kinsley, who picked up the Razzie Award. With that, they get really cool things. Entitles them to early access to some of Tim's reviews, exclusive access to TV reviews, and disturbing videos of Rob pretending to be the Predator. All of those things and more can be yours as a part of Patreon.
Way to bury the lead. I mean, the videos of Rob would get me to... I guess I'm going to have to resubscribe now.
I know. He did the other day. So I watched Predator for the first time, like 5 days ago. And he's like, well, I just want everyone to know that we're watching this. This is a really good movie. So he just goes on a video, like one of those Lens videos on Patreon, and just starts like making clicking noises. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, everyone will know that we're watching The Predator. I'm like,
did anyone know?
I don't think so. It was just weird. And there was no lighting. So we were just sitting in a dark basement clicking. So that too can be yours as a part of Patreon.
I love this. Good shit.
Good times. You also can support our show through going through our Amazon banner on our site. Doing it is easy. Just go to our website, alternateending.com, click on the Amazon banner, and seamlessly go about your purchases. All proceeds go to making our show better. And we need all the proceeds we can get.
So your proceeds are not helping. Give us more money.
It's not enough, obviously. You too can do this like people who got Amazon gift cards. I have not done that, but I should. That's something that you can do. Tim, I also want to tell you, I'm coming up on something.
You should for sure do gift cards because we actually get those twice. Once when you buy the gift card, and then if the person using the gift cards buys through our site, it goes to us again.
Yes.
So we're defrauding Amazon. And who doesn't want to defraud Amazon? Bad company.
Yeah, agreed. They're terrible. Maybe you don't even shop through our Amazon banner. They're actually
make their
terrible.
workers pee in bottles. Yeah, don't shop through anyone else's Amazon storefront because they're a bad company, but shop through ours because we are dear people.
That's true. You could do that. You could also get, Tim, this is going to get weird here. I'm not really sure what this is. In beauty and grooming, you can get a snail bee high content mask with snail secretion in it.
I mean, it's not as gross as it sounds.
Really?
It's not like the snail's vaginal juices.
You're picking up the slime and putting it on your face.
It's just the goo. It's just the goo that the snail leaves behind as it walks. You're rubbing it on your body.
I find this concerning, but I will take whatever I can get to help with the skin. So if this snail secretion is working for your face, or Tim, maybe you're using this snail secretion, I would love to know. as well. You also, thank you for getting the body moisturizer, extra virgin olive oil. I use that as well. It's not working.
Extra virgin olive oil and snails, man. You got yourself an escargot, and I love it.
That's right. Uh-oh, that's good. And this is a person who's very hydrated, I can already tell, because they're also using Andalou Naturals Happy Day Cream. That might actually have CBD in it. It's Canacell. Okay. Is that the one that has CBD and makes you high?
I don't know, but you'd have to be pretty fucking stoned to put snail shit on your face, so that all tracks to me.
It's all the layers. That's what they say. You got to do like start with the day cream, move to the snail secretion. Also, in books and textbooks, we have Harrow the Ninth, the Locked Tomb series, part 1 and 2. Sounds gripping.
Well, then you don't have to worry about whether the cliffhanger is going to resolve. You just go right into part 2.
Agreed. 100%. Also, Appointment with Death, a Hercule Poirot mystery.
Oh my God.
Is it not a Poirot?
No.
Oh, what is it?
Hercule Poirot.
Oh, no.
Did you not see Death on the Nile or Murder on the Orient Express?
I don't know. I don't know that that's how you spell Poirot, but now that you're saying that actually feels right.
That's how you spell it.
Oh, shoot. A Kiss Before Dying, introduction by Chelsea Kane. I got that one in books and textbooks. Also, The Stepford Wives. Those aren't good ones. You don't want to know them.
No, they're pretty mean.
In Health and Household, Pampers Splashers. 18 count. You're going to need more than that. They get wet. Then we also have the Fons and Porter 60-inch design wall. That's a good one, too.
Yeah, that's... my mother has the Fons and Porter 60-inch design wall, but she's had it for some time. It's a large felt wall hanging that you mount, and then you put pieces of fabric on it, and you design a quilt on your wall.
Who knew? What a good idea. What a good idea.
Good people at Fons and Porter, dude.
Interesting. This is probably a quilter then. They also got a 2 set of roller brushes for their eye Roomba. They're also keeping it clean. There's probably lint everywhere from those quilts.
Absolutely.
And then they also picked up the Moon Lamp Galaxy Lamp LED. I'm glad they got the LED because otherwise you're just replacing light bulbs left and right. Nobody likes that.
I had to replace the LEDs pretty damn often, I gotta be honest. I thought they were a bit of a racket.
It's because you keep your lights on all the time.
I'm at home at dark. I'm not going to sit alone in the dark. I'm not a fucking vampire.
Well,
I'm not a cave troll like you and your husband.
That's true. Everything's dark right here. I'm like a 90-year-old man who angrily flips off lights all the time in my house. So then we have in Kindle books, the Books of Legends, also essays, first and second series. Pretty generic, so I'm not sure which essays those are, but I bet they're good.
There's 2 series of them, so apparently there was demand.
There was demand, high demand. In Kitchen and Dining, we have a Black & Decker replacement carafe. Everyone loves a good carafe.
Yeah.
That could be you. In office supplies, we have the plastic fastener tap snack lock. Wow, gosh, I am better at this than Rob.
At what point did that... I just started hearing sounds.
I don't know.
At a certain point in that last one.
I actually made up a few of the words that were in there. So unknown. In pet food and supplies, we have Zoo Snood's Blue Ox costume. Oh my gosh. Someone's going to
be dressed as a snood ox.
Oh, is it cat or dog? I can't tell. Just as a generic pet, but large.
It's probably a dog. People don't dress their cats up. Cats don't like it.
Cats would be pissed. Oh my gosh. Send pictures to contact@alternateindy.com. We also have Crocs Kids Croc Band sandals for cute kids, size 5. Love it.
I didn't realize there were still Crocs.
There are people, yeah, of course. Okay, they're like the original shoe. Yeah, okay.
I'm not a fashion plate like you, Carrie.
Yeah. This is my day 10 Costco sweatshirt, I'll have you know. Then in Toys and Games, we have Hungry Hungry Hippos, one of a favorite. You could have had ours because I've been trying to throw it away because my kids are so messy with it. There's balls everywhere. But we hope you like it. We hope you enjoy yours. There's a unicorn princess costume. Everyone's getting ready for Halloween. Let's talk about this. This is a tutu dress with headband princess costume, LED light up birthday party outfit for Halloween. So cute.
Well, so someone's birthday was on Halloween.
No, I bet it's like a light up birthday party outfit tutu. I don't know. This costume could be anything. Oh, and it's a unicorn. This is like a lot of things in one costume.
This is a lot of things. It sounds like someone's cosplay has gotten deeply far off track.
3 to 4T, and so they're really starting young as well. So We shall see. Then we have the Toddler Montessori Toys Learning Activities for Sensory Fine Motor Skills. That is a must-have. And then in Blu-ray and DVD, we have Dragon Ball Super, the complete series. I've been seeing a lot of buzz about the Dragon Ball Z movies in our chat. So
I think what that means, not to call anyone out by name, I think that specifically means that one of our listeners has been watching the entire Dragon Ball series.
I think so.
And it's just becoming like this sort of irresistibly weird thing because he keeps writing like 9,000 word reviews of them on Letterboxd.
And
keep it up. I'm admiring
Keep it up.
So
we
keep
admire
it up,
your resilience. Then we also have Thelma and Louise 20th Anniversary Edition. And last but not least, the Velasa Pastor.
Oh, someone paid money to see that because Brennan and I talked about it. That was wrong.
That
Watch that shit for free, man.
watch that one.
That will be bad.
We will be bad. So
bad.
It's very bad, but we hope you enjoy it. When we get back, our top 2 movies of summer 2022. And welcome back to Alternate Ending. We have 2 more to go. Tim has recovered now that we've taken a short break. He's taken a few hits from a bong, and now here we are with our top 2.
Well, that's a terrible thing to say.
I was trying to think of a way to say that you were trying to relax going into our top 2.
I'm perfectly relaxed. I'm perfectly sanguine, especially because we've already done my top 2, so it's just up to you.
Wait, are you done?
No, Lex Eterna.
Oh, yeah, but you have one more then,
Well,
right?
we did my number 2, not my number 1.
Oh, don't scare me. Okay, good. So I'm at my number 2 then, right?
You're number 2.
My number 2 will probably send you back into a tailspin, potentially as well, but I think you see it coming. So that's where it's okay.
Well, now I'm thrown because either you forgot that this movie is animated or I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying now.
The Shell is animated.
I don't think it's animated.
The Shell is animated.
I think it's live. What was the thing you said? Stop motion.
The Shell is animated.
I don't know about that. But
I mean, it's a stop motion puppet, but that's still animation.
let's agree to disagree.
The shell, it's not a sapient shell. It's not a real documentary. It's a fake documentary about an animated shell.
I can not confirm or deny that, but you do know that my number 2, based on I think what you've said, is Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I didn't forget about it, but there's very clearly like people wandering around in this too, in addition to the somewhat animated stop motion animation shells that are meandering around the house. So it's like a combo. I wouldn't call this 100% animation.
No, it's not 100% animation.
Oh, okay.
But the shell is animated.
The shell is animation. So yeah, this is my number 2, and I can't. What did you give this movie? Like 4, 5?
I gave it less than you did.
I will tell you about it then for those of you who have warm souls and hearts, who somehow missed this movie. This movie is adorable on every single 1-inch level. Marcel is just this tiny little hermit crab, right?
No, it's a shell. There's no organic part of him. That he is a shell.
But I mean, inside the shell, there's a little bit of a mollusk.
His soul.
No, there's a mollusk in there that has the shoes on. Somebody has to wear the shoes. You can't put shoes on.
I did not get the impression that Marcel was a mollusk. I think Marcel is just a shell.
All right, I'm going to continue. You fact check yourself on this. You look it up. But here's what I think happened in this movie. This little mollusk is walking around with shoes on, and he's inside this shell. But anyway, he has this lovely existence with his grandma Connie, who is a larger mollusk, but larger and aging mollusk. They also have their friend, the pet lint named Alan. All of them are lovely people. So they live alone after a bad breakup that happened in the house, and one of the partners in the situation did something to their hermit crab or mollusk family, whatever, shell family. And so all of their friends disappear, and so they're just trying to live along and find joy and happiness in their own lives. And so then this documentary filmmaker comes in, rents the house or Airbnbs or something. He connects with Marcel, finds him, and they become friends. And he starts documenting his life and putting these like testimonials about Marcel out on the internet. Marcel goes viral. Everybody, of course, loves Marcel because he's just like joy in a shell. And then it's kind of like, what is the story and purpose of life, and how do we find joy even when life is hard, that Marcel teaches us as we venture through this adventure. And that's why I loved it.
The Wikipedia page just calls Marcel a talking shell. Does not indicate whether or not he is a mollusk living inside a shell.
We'll leave that one there and agree to disagree. I think there's more than a soul in there. But tell me, what were your feelings on this movie?
Not every movie is for everybody. Mm-hmm. And this movie was not for me.
But why? I'd love to understand why.
Because it was made for other people who aren't me. And Dean Fleischer Camp does not have an obligation to me to only make movies that I like.
Yes.
So why would I want him to make movies that I like when it's not his job to make movies that I like?
I understand. But did you find it inventive and cute and fun and lovely?
It's a movie. All movies matter to me. It is important to me that movies exist.
Okay.
A flourishing film ecosystem makes room for every kind of movies.
I feel as though if this shell had, instead of searching for love and friendship and the meaning of life, plunged itself into the depths of a fiery burning death, you would have been like, yeah,
if this had been a movie in which great physical trauma had been visited upon the shell across the course of its 90 minutes, I would have absolutely liked it more. Yes, that is not even a debatable question.
That does happen, though. Did you see the emotional, trauma that he has to go through?
If heavy bricks keep falling on the shell and the shell shatters, and then every time we see the shell, he's been glued back together, that would have been funny. That would have been a bit.
Doesn't he get a Band-Aid on his shell at one point?
Yes, but that's cute. I'm talking about something viscerally horrifying.
Well, how could there be, Tim? There's nothing inside that shell.
The shell itself is the corpus of the body, of the being.
Everybody that's listening right now, do not listen to a single thing that Tim is saying. This is a movie that must be seen. This is so sweet and so cute, and it'll change your life. You're going to your outlook on the world and perspective will be completely different. And
mine changed for sure. I realized that there were far fewer people I can trust than I thought, because there were people that I thought were friends of mine who liked this movie, and I was like, well, you're off the list. You're getting no Christmas cards from me.
It's getting smaller and smaller. You're like, remember that birthday I mentioned? We're actually not doing that earlier. That movie. It's actually canceled. Don't worry about it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well,
I'm glad this movie did for you what it needed to do for you.
It did. It's everything I needed this year and more. Not as much as my number one, but we'll get there after your number one. I think I know what it is, but I'm going to let you tell me about it.
All right. So my number one is not the movie you think it is. I was going to do a whole bit, and I was like, I'm not going to do a bit. That's just mean. My number one is an Italian movie about people who are in a cave.
Is this being true?
What?
Is this being true to yourself?
This is far and away, by an order of magnitude, my favorite movie that I've seen this year so far.
The whole year too.
Whole year.
Okay.
Saw this in April at the Wisconsin Film Festival. Would not have been on my most anticipated list because I otherwise would not really have known it was coming. But this is the film Ilbuko, which is set in the 1960s, traces the process by which a cave is mapped. The end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they go into the cave and they map it. And it's actually shot in the cave.
Uh-huh.
So this cave was mapped in 1961.
Uh-huh.
And then in 2020 or 2019 or whatever, pandemic changes everything. I don't know.
Remapped it.
They didn't remap it. They just filmed there.
Oh, okay.
It is a 700-meter deep cave in Italy that had to be mapped.
Uh-huh.
But now it doesn't because they mapped it. So the map got made.
I wish I had seen this because I do
love
spelunking.
So here's the thing. If you're the kind of person who likes this movie, you probably have already heard of it. You won't like this movie, Carrie. You'd hate this movie.
But in what way? I love caves.
There's 3 lines of dialogue in the whole film.
Okay.
And basically it's just a procedural and it's shot in the cave. So just incredibly like interesting cave cinematography. It's not a very interesting looking cave. So like what's of interest is just sort of like close quarters and the like sense that we're moving in through this dark, unknowable space. Um, so that's cool. That's my jam. There's no dialogue. That's my jam.
Mm-hmm.
And it never really explains itself. You just sort of have to vibe with it. You have to be like, okay, I'm going to watch these men doing whatever the hell it is they're doing, and eventually I will have figured it out. I will like have seen them do the same set of things enough times that I'll be like, oh, well, when they do that, that means that they're getting this sort of measurement, and then they report it back to the guy up at the top who's actually drawing out the cave. And like it's just kind of this immersive, almost like a documentary. It's not a documentary, but it sort of feels like one of those films where you're just like watching people doing a job. And we don't talk to them. We're just like hands off. We're just watching it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Which my understanding is that that's kind of what Michelangelo Framartino, the director of this film, my sense is that that's his like thing. I haven't seen any of his other films before this, but that's what this is. It's just basically we're going to go in a cave. We're going to watch people try to map that cave, and it's going to be interesting because human behavior is of inherent interest.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know, it's almost too boring to even comment on. I don't even have anything to latch onto.
I mean, I'm probably
on, so.
being slightly dismissive in how I'm describing it. I found this movie mind expanding. Like it made me think differently about how like it made me think differently about how I look at caves, which when I put it that way sounds really super lame.
No, like you're.
I think about caves. It's been a bad year for movies, Carrie. The only good movies have been about the caveman.
The number one movie of the year is a non-dialogue movie about a hole in the ground. So,
yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Well, that's what Ilbuko means, is the hole.
The hole. This is a commentary. This is a commentary on the times.
So, Carrie, tell us about Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, there is a theme here. We're all covering ones about holes. I already covered, both sides of the blade as well. So the last one that I have on my list, my number one, is going to be no surprise to anybody because while I love movies that are sometimes weird like Lux Eterna, I also love movies that everybody else loves because I'm easily swayed by public opinion, and this is the best movie of the year by everybody's standards. So my number one was Top Gun Maverick. This was my only 5-star movie that I've had of the year thus far.
That's a good movie. How
did you not have it?
Almost put this at number 5. And I didn't, in part because I knew it would be your number one, and I didn't want to take your number one right off the bat.
Oh, you didn't have to do that. I like when we match up. It makes us feel like we're connected in our cinephilia. Oh man,
it was a tiebreaker.
It was a tiebreaker.
It got us where we needed to be. Now we get to talk about Maverick, which is a delightful movie. To me.
So good. And the reason why it's here too is it's the movie that when I bump into people, so like when I went into the office for the first time, it's the thing where everybody knows that I'm involved sort of with movie stuff. And so it's kind of the like you become that's like the first question people ask, like, what's your movie recommendation? Tell me the movies you like the most. Like, what should I see if I'm going to see anything? And this is my like safe bet where if I tell anybody this movie, I know they're going to go and see and love it. They're not going to think I'm a weirdo. Like, can you imagine if I was like, you should really check out Lux Eterna? Like,
or like if you were like, you should really check out DC League of Super Pets.
DC League. Oh, that's my third one. I tell people, but I'm like, for me, Top Gun, I want to see it with my dad. I want to see it with my kids. I want to see it with everybody. It's something that I know is going to bring people joy and that they're just going to feel good when they leave it. And I feel like a movie like that, where it's just like pure, everything's just like easy watching and good, but like energy and all the things. It just has been the best experience I've had of the year in the theater.
It is just such delightful, pure cinema. It is Tom Cruise putting on a show for us, which is what he does at this point. He's just like a weirdo who's like, movies that are full of like weirdly physical filmmaking are great. My only problem with this film, the only reason I have it capped out at a 4 is I think it is a perfectly okay movie right up until the scene where Tom Cruise is like, okay, we've had way too much of this movie where all of you dumb kids have been trying to be Tom Cruise, but I'm the only Tom Cruise, so let me fucking show you how to Tom Cruise. Mm-hmm. And he then does the whole flying thing.
And I love it.
And from that moment until the closing credits scroll, it is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I think it is a little bit pokey getting us to that moment.
I think it's a lot of ground to cover to be like, oh, we've got like 30 years of build up to this of like what has happened to these people. And you have to like, it's not like a couple of years has passed. You have to sort of like build the characters back up because not everybody also has seen the first one if you're seeing this the next time.
I'm saying they could have just had more of the young people die so we didn't have to keep track of them.
I see.
Because I don't care about any of them.
Well, they were all so lovely. They were all just
none of them, however, Tom Cruise.
True. That's very fair. But I also like Jennifer Connelly in it. Like I loved like the little like heatsy romance there in the 50s. Like when you're in your 50s, that whole thing.
I believe this movie was set in 2022. Actually,
50s love. I'm like the whole thing. I'm just there for it. I'm like
it's actually probably set in 2019 because this has been finished for like years.
Oh, has it?
It only came. Paramount kept wanting to put it out on digital, and Tom Cruise kept being like, absolutely not.
I remember you
This
guys
is
saying
a theater
that.
movie. We're going to wait for the pandemic to be over, and we're going to put it out in theaters. And my God,
right.
Did that pay off for Paramount? I mean, it's, again, $700 million and counting.
Yes. So if you somehow in the world have missed it, make sure that you get out there and see it. It's definitely, definitely good. And then after that, DC League of Super Pets.
Now, remind me, Carrie, because my mind's blanking a little bit. I know this was in our top anticipated episode, and it was only on one person's list.
Rob's.
Whose was it?
It was Rob's.
I don't think it was Rob's.
It was.
I don't think it was Rob's.
It was. Oh, it was you.
It might have been me.
It was you. It was you. Oh,
it was
see?
me. It was me. It was me.
It was you. You have such.
That's
good
what I'm saying.
taste.
That's why I clearly won the anticipated episode.
There is no. I'm not
the only
even
one
going
who
to argue with you. I'm not even going to argue with you. You absolutely have won. The fact that you had two movies that were so again softcore porn and a seizure, and they ended up on my list.
I want to point out that you have 3 of my movies in your top 5, and only one of your movies in your top 5.
This has been the weirdest year of my life. Absolutely.
The movies, that's the thing. Like, and I mean, I know that I only have 1 actual movie on my list and then 4 fake movies. Because like Ilbuko, Looks to Turn a Benediction, and Mad God, none of those existed. Like they are all like weird alternate universe movies. The movies were bad this summer.
I know.
They were super, super, super bad.
They were super bad.
That's why, if you noticed the poster that I made for this episode, Carrie,
did.
You see?
I laughed.
You know how I typically do like 3 different movies?
I laughed.
There's only one movie that came out this summer, so it's like there's only one movie that gets a poster.
And it sparked my joy that I was all 3 Tom Cruise instead of Rob, which you might assume, but alas, I am the true aviator of this podcast. So
yes,
thus here we are. And we are not the only ones, Tim, who had opinions about movies this summer. Our winner this week was Paula, who said, so I was stranded, broke with family in a rural town in the Midwest. We're all familiar with that this summer, with my access to movies largely mediated by both the tastes of family and the choices of the 2-screen theater that was the only cinema in the county. I only ended up seeing 4 movies this summer, which were ranked. Number 4, Jurassic Dominion World, or otherwise known as Jurassic World Dominion. Also, 3, Thor, Love and Thunder. 2, Lightyear. Ooh, it's not getting great, but she was able to see at number 1, 3,000 Years of Longing, which did crack your list, Tim. So she got one that was good in there. And then her best films that she saw for the first time, though, this summer, love this approach, was at 5, A Scanner Darkly. Number 4, Before Sunrise.
Love it.
First time viewing, love it. Number 3, Before Sunset, love it even more.
Someone's rocking the Linklater. I enjoy it.
That's absolutely right. But then it veers into number 2, Distant Voices, Still Lives.
Terrence Davies, the guy who did Benediction.
Yes, loved that. And number 1, Salt of the Earth, which I feel like I've heard you talk about before.
Oh God, who is it by? It's by a very important director. I think it's Wim Wenders.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, thank you, Paula. Shoot us an email at contact@alternateending to claim your free Amazon movie rental. In closing, Tim, we made it.
We made it.
I think
we did not set our website on fire, Carrie.
We didn't. And I would say with minimal editing, we will be able to assemble a podcast out of this.
And you know what's great? This time around, even if Rob forgets to edit out the mistakes.
Yes.
There's not going to be like a 17-minute bit where you and I are trying to determine whether or not we've already done the ad break, because we just did the ad break and then we stopped.
We did that. And then we did belittle him at the beginning of the episode. So if he doesn't catch that, then that's just
if he doesn't catch that, that's on him. And
That's
if he doesn't
on him.
catch that, that's good content.
Exactly.
And hopefully you've all heard it and enjoyed it and had a good laugh at his expense.
That is our hope. But this was a real treat. And I, again, while I'm somewhat dismayed by my choices, I still feel good because seeing your face and reaction to them was all the gift that I needed.
And I just want to say, Rob, if you're listening, if you're out there in podcast land, drop your top 5 in comments. Let the people know. They want to hear Rob Jarosinski's top 5.
That's true indeed. So get out there, go to our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the things. Subscribe to our podcast at iTunes or Google, and don't forget about Patreon. Next week, Tim, will we be doing our top 5 anticipated of the fall?
I mean, next week we'll already be into October, so I feel like that bird has flown.
The bird has flown. So we will see what we have.
Especially because 2 of my top 5 anticipated of the fall have now opened.
Oh, well, that's fine. Have you seen them?
Well, I shouldn't say. One of them has opened, and it was Avatar 1, and I, was going to put that on my fall list. I was going to be that guy. The other one, which would be Smile, will have opened by the time we have it. So.
Okay, well, TBD. We will loop Rob in on it to get his take, but we will be back next Monday with our next episode, and we will catch you then.